The rapture trigger was embedded within this very scripture. Have you ever paused to consider whether the rapture, that pivotal moment we've long awaited and fervently prayed for, could be inextricably linked to a single, specific verse in the Bible? A verse so potent, yet so subtly woven into the fabric of the text, that it often eludes the casual observer, slipping past even the most devout believers without them grasping its profound significance. Imagine, if you will, standing on the precipice of eternity, the celestial trumpet poised to sound, the heavens themselves beginning to part, and knowing with absolute certainty that the precise timing of this monumental, life-altering event was, in fact, foretold within the scriptures, artfully concealed in plain sight all along. Many of us believe we possess a solid understanding of the signs that herald the end times. We readily discuss the rapture in our sermons and dissect it during our Bible studies. Yet, we inadvertently overlook the critical trigger, that divine signal, personally encoded by Jesus himself within a verse, awaiting discovery by those who are spiritually awake and attuned. This verse transcends the mere classification of a prophetic utterance. It serves as a clarion call to readiness, a divine pointer meticulously directing us to the exact moment when the celestial realm will intersect with the terrestrial, when the faithful among us will be gloriously lifted up to meet Jesus in the expanse of the sky. Its message is both subtle and profoundly deep, demanding far more than a superficial level of belief. It necessitates hearts ablaze with unwavering faith, souls that remain ever watchful, and lives that are consciously aligned with God's divine purposes. Those individuals who recognize this pivotal trigger, who truly comprehend its gravity and respond with the appropriate action, will be the very ones who stand in awe and unbounded joy as eternity bursts forth in an instant. In this discourse, I intend to guide you on a transformative journey through the sacred scriptures to unearth this long-hidden rapture trigger, a signal patiently awaiting your discerning recognition. I aim to illuminate not only the tangible signs that surround us, but also the spiritual preparedness that Jesus explicitly demands, and the unparalleled hope, profound joy, and eternal reward that accompany a state of constant readiness. This is profoundly personal, undeniably urgent, and capable of transforming your life in unimaginable ways. By the conclusion of this message, you will possess a deep understanding of why this seemingly simple verse holds greater significance than you ever conceived possible. And you will undoubtedly feel inspired to meticulously examine the depths of your heart, reawaken your slumbering faith, and live each day in fervent anticipation of the glorious moment when Jesus calls his chosen ones home. The rapture is undeniably coming, and the key that unlocks its timing has been subtly concealed within this verse all along. Are you genuinely prepared to embark on this journey of discovery? Part 1. The verse that holds the key to eternity. Let us delve directly into the heart of the matter. There exists a particular verse within the sacred scriptures, seemingly unremarkable upon initial reading, that harbors within it the concealed trigger for the rapture. It functions as a spark, quietly awaiting the moment to ignite a blazing fire, or as a perfectly crafted key, patiently waiting to unlock the magnificent door to eternity. Most individuals read this verse and continue onward, failing to grasp its profound depth, neglecting to feel the urgent message that Jesus so desperately attempted to convey. This is not merely a prophecy meant for distant academic study. It is a dynamic, vibrant command to awaken from spiritual slumber, to diligently prepare your heart and mind, and to meticulously align your daily life with the divine timing of heaven. When you achieve a complete and comprehensive understanding of this verse, it irrevocably alters the very fabric of your daily existence. Because the instant it is triggered, everything on this earth will experience a dramatic and instantaneous shift. This verse is not concealed due to its inherently secretive nature. It remains hidden because it demands spiritually attuned eyes to truly perceive it, a heart that is resolutely willing to pay close attention, and a soul finely attuned to the voice of Jesus. Numerous scholars and theologians have meticulously dissected it, exhaustively analyzed it, and passionately debated its intricate meaning. Yet, the vast majority have inadvertently missed its true and intended purpose. It is the precise moment when heaven audibly signals the faithful to gloriously rise. The surrounding context of this verse is of equal and paramount importance. Jesus did not utter it in isolation, as a standalone statement. It is skillfully embedded within a rich tapestry of interconnected signs, stern warnings, and explicit instructions that directly point toward the faithful. You cannot afford to disregard the words that encircle it, nor can you afford to treat it with anything less than the utmost reverence. The trigger resides there, expertly woven into the very fabric of prophecy itself, and it demands a conscious response, deliberate action, and diligent preparation. Reflect for a moment on the powerful imagery that Jesus employs. The clouds majestically parting, the triumphant sound of the trumpet echoing through the heavens, the angels diligently gathering, the faithful joyously ascending to meet him in the sky. All of these are far more than mere poetic flourishes. They serve as vital indicators of timing, meticulously placed markers intended for those who possess the eyes to truly see and the ears to truly hear. This specific verse, the one that holds the key to our eternal future, signals the exact moment when the faithful are to be gloriously caught up, gracefully lifted from the trials and tribulations of this world, and brought directly into the radiant presence of Jesus himself. It operates as a divine countdown, subtly concealed in plain sight, and it is intricately and undeniably connected to the spiritual readiness of each and every believer. Countless Christians have earnestly prayed for the rapture to occur, without fully realizing that prayer alone is insufficient. The verse makes a demand for something more than mere belief. It calls for a deep and unwavering alignment, diligent preparation, and a vibrant, living faith that actively produces tangible action. At the very moment Jesus spoke these profound words, he was not merely forecasting a future event. He was simultaneously issuing a solemn call to constant vigilance. He was, in essence, declaring, "Be constantly ready, because the appointed time will arrive, and it will undoubtedly arrive without warning for those who remain unprepared." This precise reason explains why so many will, unfortunately, be left behind. Not because God is inherently unmerciful, but because they knowingly ignored the fundamental spiritual requirements meticulously embedded within this crucial verse. This verse also presents us with a profound challenge, to skillfully discern between what is merely superficial and what is truly essential. Many individuals fixate on the signs of the times, becoming preoccupied with external events such as wars, catastrophic natural disasters, and significant political shifts. But Jesus's hidden trigger is fundamentally spiritual in nature. It necessitates a heart that is fully aligned with his divine purposes, a life characterized by unwavering obedience, and a faith that is not only active and alive, but also consistently enduring. It is simply not enough to intellectually know and understand the verse. You must actively live it, consistently breathe it, and allow it to deliberately shape the choices you make each and every day. Those who diligently do so will undoubtedly find themselves fully prepared when the appointed moment finally arrives, while those who neglect this vital preparation will inevitably find themselves wondering why they tragically missed it. What renders this verse truly remarkable is its inherent timelessness. Jesus spoke these powerful words centuries ago, and yet they remain undeniably relevant and applicable to us today. The same critical trigger that applied to his early disciples applies with equal force to all believers in the present era. It transcends the constraints of time and the variations of culture because it speaks directly to the core of spiritual readiness, remaining unaffected by external conditions. The timing of the rapture is not determined by the events that unfold around us in the world, but rather by the internal condition of our own hearts. The verse acts as a mirror, faithfully reflecting our state of preparedness, or, conversely, our lack thereof directly back to us. It is profoundly intimate, deeply personal, and capable of bringing about transformative change in anyone who is willing to heed its enduring message. As you diligently study this pivotal verse, you will inevitably begin to notice recurring patterns, interconnected connections, and multiple layers of subtle meaning that collectively reveal the meticulous orchestration of God's divine timing. It is intricately connected to other vital scriptures, to the overarching narrative of salvation, and to the crucial signs that inevitably precede the rapture. The more deeply you meditate upon its significance, the clearer it will undoubtedly become. This is undeniably a divine signal, a carefully calibrated spiritual alarm clock designed specifically for the faithful. It serves as an urgent call to awaken from spiritual slumber, to meticulously examine the current state of your life, and to diligently ensure that your faith is not only alive, but also vibrant and fully prepared. As we journey through this profound message together, I implore you to truly feel the gravity and urgency of this moment. This verse is not simply an academic exercise. It is intensely practical, offering clear guidance on what to actively look for, how to diligently prepare, and what essential qualities to cultivate within your heart. It speaks eloquently of the profound hope, the unparalleled reward, and the eternal joy that await those who faithfully respond to its enduring call. It also serves as a stark warning of the dire consequences that will inevitably befall those who knowingly choose to ignore it. This dual nature, encompassing both promise and stern warning, is absolutely central to understanding why this particular verse possesses such unparalleled power. It is, without question, a spiritual trigger of eternal significance. The seemingly hidden nature of this verse is not due to a deliberate desire on God's part to withhold the truth from his followers. Rather, it is concealed because its accurate interpretation demands spiritual discernment. You must consciously choose to look beyond the superficial surface, moving past what is merely comfortable or convenient, and actively engage your spirit with the profound message of the Word. Only then will you truly recognize the critical timing, the necessary alignment, and the unwavering readiness that Jesus so urgently calls us to embrace. Every moment of conscious spiritual discipline, every heartfelt prayer, every deliberate act of obedience positions you to effectively respond to this critical trigger when it inevitably occurs. It is a clarion call to immediate action that simply cannot be ignored. This is precisely why this verse matters more today than ever before in human history. We currently live in a world characterized by incessant distraction, pervasive uncertainty, and overwhelming noise and confusion. The powerful spiritual signal meticulously embedded within the scripture effectively cuts through all of that chaos. It clearly tells you what to actively watch for, how to diligently prepare for it, and precisely how to align your life with God's divine timing. It calls you to constant vigilance, fervent prayer, unwavering holiness, and a consistently active and engaged faith. It is the hidden key that unlocks your ability to stand confidently ready, to gloriously rise with the faithful, and to experience the unparalleled eternal reward that Jesus himself so lovingly promises. The more deeply we examine this verse, the more evident it becomes that it serves as the very anchor for the rapture, the solid and unwavering point at which the earthly realm and the heavenly realm definitively intersect. It marks the precise moment when the faithful are gloriously lifted from their earthly trials and tribulations into the radiant glory of God's eternal presence. And yet, it remains profoundly subtle. It does not shout its message from the pages of Scripture. Instead, it patiently waits for those with eyes that are truly able to see and ears that are truly able to hear, for those precious souls who are genuinely willing to live their lives in a state of constant readiness and unwavering anticipation. This explains precisely why so many unfortunately miss its profound significance. They mechanically read the verse, but they tragically fail to truly comprehend the vital spiritual preparedness that it urgently requires. Jesus carefully encoded within this verse a profound and transformative truth, that the precise timing of the rapture is inextricably linked to a state of spiritual alignment. It is not controlled solely by worldly events, but rather by the consistent readiness of his chosen people. This revelation fundamentally transforms the way we understand prophecy, the way we consciously live each and every day, the way we fervently pray, the way we deliberately act, and the way we consciously cultivate holiness in our daily lives. This single verse is not merely a prophecy to be casually studied. It is, in actuality, profound instruction, essential guidance, and comprehensive divine preparation, all masterfully combined into one powerful statement. Part 2. Understanding the trigger, signs, and conditions that govern its activation. Once we have successfully recognized the specific verse that holds the key to understanding the rapture, the next essential step is to fully grasp the trigger that is embedded within it. This is often where many well-intentioned believers struggle. They tend to view the rapture as a singular event, a future moment to be patiently hoped for, but they often fail to recognize that the trigger is, in reality, a carefully orchestrated combination of both spiritual and earthly signs, skillfully encoded within the sacred scriptures by God himself. Jesus did not intentionally leave the critical timing vague or ambiguous. He meticulously embedded vital clues within the timing itself, within the specified conditions, and within the overarching spiritual alignment required for his people to gloriously rise. The trigger is not a singular event, but rather a series of interconnected markers, both visible and invisible. There are undeniably earthly signs that can be readily observed, such as escalating conflicts, devastating natural disasters, and the overall moral condition of humanity. But these alone are simply not sufficient to signal the impending rapture. The true trigger is profoundly spiritual in nature. It is rooted in the consistent readiness of the faithful, their unwavering alignment with God's divine will, and their consistently active and living faith. This is precisely why Jesus repeatedly emphasized the absolute importance of constant watchfulness and fervent prayer. Only those who are truly attuned to him will be able to accurately recognize the precise moment when the rapture trigger is fully activated. When we diligently study the verse in its entirety, we begin to discern discernible patterns. Jesus specifically spoke of the heavens majestically opening, of the angels diligently gathering, and of the faithful being gloriously lifted up. Each and every element is undeniably intentional, and each specific detail meticulously points to both the critical timing of the rapture and the specific condition of those who are destined to be taken. The trigger is not a random occurrence, dictated by chance or circumstance. It is precise, deliberate, and inextricably connected to the overall spiritual state of God's chosen people. It absolutely necessitates unwavering discernment, constant vigilance, and an intimate and unwavering relationship with Jesus himself. The conditions that directly surround the trigger also include both global and moral indicators. Jesus specifically warned about the proliferation of deception, the rise of false prophets, and the inevitable increase of lawlessness. These conditions are not merely insignificant background noise. Rather, they represent an integral part of the overall divine setup for the rapture. They collectively create a world that stands in stark and dramatic contrast to the diligent preparedness of the faithful. When these aforementioned conditions seamlessly align with the spiritual readiness of God's people, the trigger is definitively set, and the glorious moment of the rapture is poised to unfold. This is precisely why this verse is so critically important. It does not merely describe a future event as a detached and passive observer. Rather, it skillfully encodes the intricate spiritual mechanics that ultimately make the rapture possible. Achieving a true understanding of these vital mechanics fundamentally changes everything. It irrevocably shifts our perspective from one of passive waiting to one of active and engaged preparation. It powerfully demonstrates to us that the faithful are not simply passive observers of unfolding events. They are active participants, faithfully co-laboring with God in a conscious state of perpetual readiness. Every single act of obedience, every moment spent in fervent prayer, and every deliberate choice to consistently walk in holiness actively contributes to the ultimate activation of the spiritual trigger that Jesus himself so graciously revealed. It is also critically important to note that the trigger is undeniably tied to a conscious state of profound awareness. Those who are consistently spiritually awake, deeply discerning, and constantly alert will inevitably recognize it immediately. Conversely, those who are easily distracted, spiritually lukewarm, or otherwise careless will undoubtedly miss it entirely. The verse functions as a divine alarm, specifically designed to awaken the soul, and our overall spiritual state ultimately determines whether or not we are able to consciously hear it. This factor undoubtedly renders the verse profoundly personal in nature. It is not merely about prophecy in its general sense. It is, first and foremost, about your own individual readiness, your unwavering faith, and your persistent alignment with Jesus himself. The rapture is imminent for all those who faithfully meet the hidden condition meticulously encoded within this sacred scripture. As we diligently examine the various signs, we begin to see that they are both undeniably external and undeniably internal. External signs include the overall state of the world, the demonstrable fulfillment of biblical prophecy, and the observable events that unfold on a global scale. Internal signs are distinctly spiritual in nature, and include an active and engaged faith, consistent perseverance, fervent prayer, unwavering holiness, and constant vigilance. The true and definitive trigger seamlessly combines all of these essential elements. It represents the harmonious alignment of heaven and earth, of the spiritual and the temporal, which collectively signals the arrival of the rapture. This is precisely what Jesus carefully encoded within the verse, and it is what makes understanding its full implications so critically urgent. The verse also offers invaluable insight into the element of timing. The rapture will not simply occur in an arbitrary manner. It will inevitably occur precisely when the previously outlined conditions of readiness have been fully met, when the faithful are completely aligned with God's divine will, and when the divinely appointed time has definitively arrived. This specific timing is both remarkably precise and intentionally hidden. It is meticulously hidden because it undeniably requires spiritually attuned eyes to truly see it and hearts that are fully prepared to understand its profound significance. Conversely, it is undeniably precise because God's divine orchestration is inherently flawless. Every unfolding event, every observable sign, and every critical spiritual condition is perfectly arranged for the exact moment of the rapture. Achieving a comprehensive understanding of the rapture trigger also offers invaluable clarity in an increasingly chaotic and uncertain world. As global events relentlessly unfold, many individuals inevitably succumb to feelings of anxiety, confusion, or outright fear. However, when you possess a solid understanding of the spiritual trigger meticulously encoded within this vital verse, you inevitably gain a new sense of perspective. You begin to realize that the rapture is not solely dependent on the external chaos that is occurring in the world. Rather, it is inextricably tied to your own personal readiness, your unwavering faith, and your consistent alignment with Jesus himself. This realization empowers you to shift your focus from fear to deliberate preparation, and from passive observation to active participation in God's overarching plan. The carefully hidden nature of this trigger also serves as a profound test of spiritual discernment. Jesus is urgently calling his people to consciously awaken from their slumber, to constantly watch, and to consistently pray. The verse acts as a spiritual compass, accurately pointing to the precise moment when the heavenly realm will definitively act. Those who diligently cultivate a conscious state of awareness, a lifestyle of unwavering obedience, and a persistent commitment to holiness are undoubtedly the ones who will ultimately respond appropriately. The rapture is not intended for those who are passive, indifferent, or careless in their approach to faith. It is specifically designed for those who diligently recognize the rapture trigger and consciously choose to live in a constant state of deliberate readiness. Finally, achieving a comprehensive understanding of this critical trigger invariably transforms your daily life in profound and meaningful ways. Every heartfelt prayer, every act of deliberate obedience, and every conscious choice to consistently walk in alignment with God's divine will inevitably strengthen your overall readiness. The verse is not merely a prophecy to be casually observed. It is, first and foremost, essential instruction, invaluable guidance, and comprehensive preparation. It calls you to live intentionally, to consistently remain vigilant, and to enthusiastically embrace the spiritual disciplines that will undoubtedly position you to gloriously meet Jesus in that long-awaited and triumphant moment. This represents the very essence of the hidden rapture trigger, and it is undeniably within reach for anyone who is willing to diligently see, fully understand, and resolutely act. Part 3. Faith and Readiness, the Hidden Requirement for Participation. Now that we have successfully explored the specific verse that holds the key to unlocking the mysteries of the rapture, and thoroughly examined the carefully encoded trigger that initiates it, we must now turn our attention to the very heart of the matter: readiness. Jesus never intended for the rapture to be merely a spectacle to casually observe from a distance. Rather, it represents the triumphant culmination of spiritual alignment, of faith that is vibrant and alive, and of hearts that are diligently prepared to ultimately meet him face to face. The essential hidden requirement that is meticulously embedded within the verse is undeniably clear. Faith must be consistently active, vibrantly living, and persistently enduring. This is not the kind of faith that merely exists in the form of empty words, catchy slogans, or mechanically repeated prayers, nor is it found in the perfunctory rituals that we often perform out of sheer habit. It is, instead, a transformative faith that actively inspires action, a faith that consistently produces a life that is consciously aligned with God's divine will. This state of consistent readiness invariably begins with the profound recognition that participation in the rapture is, in fact, conditional. Not everyone who verbally calls Jesus Lord will automatically rise to ultimately meet him in the sky. The critical conditions for the faithful are skillfully woven into the fabric of the verse itself, and they unequivocally demand far more than mere passive belief. They explicitly require constant vigilance, an unwavering commitment to fervent prayer, persistent perseverance through trials and tribulations, and an unwavering pursuit of holiness in all aspects of life. It is, in essence, a robust faith that is rigorously tested and definitively proven in the ordinary, everyday moments of life. The choices we deliberately make when we believe no one is watching, and the unwavering persistence we demonstrate when the world seems to be arrayed against us. Fervent prayer serves as a critical cornerstone of this essential readiness. It transcends the realm of a mere daily ritual or a quick, fleeting request. Rather, it embodies an ongoing, dynamic conversation with Jesus himself, an active and deliberate alignment of your heart with his divine will, and a continual and conscious tuning of your soul to the very frequency of heaven. Those who consistently maintain this vital discipline will inevitably cultivate a keen sense of discernment. They will naturally begin to recognize the distinct patterns, the significant signs, and the subtle spiritual currents that collectively indicate the precise timing of the rapture. In this context, the verse operates as a spiritual compass, providing clear and consistent direction, while persistent prayer sharpens the awareness necessary to appropriately respond when that long-awaited moment finally arrives. Consistent holiness represents yet another critical aspect of maintaining unwavering readiness. Jesus explicitly called his followers to exist in the world, but steadfastly refrain from being of the world. This is not intended to be an abstract or unattainable command. Rather, it provides a practical standard for living that meticulously prepares the heart for an eternal union with him. Holiness is not a one-time accomplishment, but a conscious daily choice, a deliberate commitment to maintaining purity in thought, word, and deed. It entails a determined rejection of compromise and a persistent pursuit of righteousness in all things. This is not ultimately about achieving some unattainable level of perfection, but rather about maintaining unwavering faithfulness in all areas of life. The truly faithful are not inherently flawless, but they are consistently obedient, consciously attentive, and fully aligned with God's overarching purposes. This vital alignment represents the very focus and essence of the verse. Readiness is, therefore, ultimately measured by the heart's consistent orientation toward Jesus and the life that is lived in direct response to his persistent call. Constant vigilance is equally essential for maintaining a state of readiness. The world is relentlessly filled with numerous distractions, overwhelming noise, and countless temptations that can easily pull the heart away from a state of conscious spiritual awareness. The hidden requirement elucidated in the verse demands constant attention, a persistent watchfulness that is simultaneously practical and deeply spiritual in nature. It represents an active and engaged state of being, a conscious awareness of the times, a solid understanding of the unfolding of biblical prophecy, and a deeply personal commitment to remaining consistently awake in spirit. The rapture is imminent for those who successfully meet this multifaceted requirement, and unwavering vigilance undoubtedly ensures that they will clearly recognize the precise moment when it finally occurs. Faith and readiness are inextricably intertwined. Faith alone, without consistent readiness, is ultimately insufficient. Conversely, persistent readiness without the foundation of unwavering faith is essentially meaningless. The verse explicitly teaches us that true spiritual preparedness represents a profound expression of a consistently living faith. It is outwardly manifested in persistent obedience, fervent prayer, consistent holiness, and unwavering watchfulness. Those who diligently cultivate this vibrant faith consciously live with a profound sense of anticipation, a constant awareness that eternity could potentially begin at any given moment. They are not generally anxious, but consistently confident. They are not typically fearful, but persistently vigilant. They possess a deep understanding that participation in the rapture represents a glorious reward for a life that has been deliberately aligned with God's divine will, and they consciously choose to live in accordance with this profound understanding each and every day. This critical hidden requirement also emphasizes the vital importance of unwavering endurance. Life is invariably filled with numerous trials, significant challenges, and inevitable moments of doubt. However, a faith that is truly alive does not simply crumble under pressure. Rather, it persistently perseveres, steadfastly clings to God, and consistently remains unwavering even in the face of overwhelming adversity. The verse clearly implies that the rapture will definitively occur precisely when the faithful are fully ready, when their hearts are completely aligned with God's divine will, and when their unwavering endurance has been rigorously tested and definitively proven. This represents the ultimate spiritual dimension of the rapture trigger. The occurrence of that glorious moment is not arbitrary or random in any sense of the word. Rather, it is the direct culmination of deliberate preparation, persistent perseverance, and consistent readiness that faithfully reflects the very heart of the true believer. Finally, this hidden requirement calls each of us to embrace both humility and a persistent dependence on Jesus himself. True readiness is ultimately not achieved through human effort alone. Rather, it is carefully nurtured through a continual reliance on His Spirit, a consistent surrender of the self, and an unwavering trust in His enduring guidance. The verse serves as a constant reminder that the rapture is, without question, a divine orchestration, and that our primary role is to diligently align ourselves with God's specific timing and overarching purpose. A faith that is consistently alive, persistently vigilant, resolutely obedient, and profoundly humble is the essential key to gloriously meeting Jesus in the sky. And it is precisely this kind of vibrant faith that this critical hidden requirement calls each of us to deliberately cultivate in our daily lives. Part 4. The world in turmoil, recognizing the season of His return. As we diligently continue on this journey of understanding, it is critically important to fully grasp the overall context in which the rapture trigger is destined to occur. Jesus did not simply give us the verse in isolation, devoid of relevant context. Rather, He meticulously framed it within the setting of a world characterized by pervasive turmoil, increasing moral decay, and relentless global unrest. Accurately recognizing the season of His return is absolutely essential to correctly interpreting the rapture trigger. The faithful are specifically called to discern not only the relevant spiritual signs, but also the unfolding temporal realities that are actively occurring around them. The world undoubtedly provides numerous relevant indicators, such as escalating wars, persistent rumors of wars, devastating natural disasters, and instances of societal collapse. However, these represent only one part of the overall picture. The true and definitive rapture trigger is the observable alignment of the faithful with God's divine will, consistently occurring amidst this global chaos and uncertainty. The events that unfold in our world ultimately serve as distinct markers, providing a vital backdrop against which the definitive spiritual trigger is destined to become clearly visible. The increasing prevalence of lawlessness, the widespread proliferation of false teachings, and the relentless escalation of global conflicts all collectively serve as stern warnings, consistently pointing to the urgent need for sustained and unwavering readiness. These challenging events are ultimately not intended to create an atmosphere of fear. Rather, they are specifically intended to consciously awaken the heart, to sharpen our spiritual discernment, and to consistently encourage heightened vigilance. When we consciously observe the world through the illuminating lens of the sacred scriptures, we inevitably begin to see the distinct patterns that Jesus specifically intended for us to accurately recognize. As a result, the trigger that is meticulously described in the verse becomes not only readily understandable, but also imminently actionable in our daily lives. Accurately recognizing the season requires the development of keen spiritual discernment. Jesus himself repeatedly emphasized that the faithful must consistently remain alert, perpetually spiritually awake, and constantly attentive to the evolving signs of the times. It is ultimately not sufficient to simply observe global events in a detached and passive manner. Rather, one must consciously interpret them through a spiritual lens, fully understanding their direct relevance to God's overarching prophetic timeline. The verse itself contains within it the vital spiritual code that definitively signals the specific moment when the faithful are deemed ready to be gloriously lifted from this earth. By deliberately coupling a conscious awareness of worldly events with our own internal spiritual readiness, believers are ideally positioned to accurately respond to the rapture trigger when it definitively occurs. The pervasive moral and spiritual decay of the world is also an extremely significant factor to consider. Jesus himself explicitly warned that the end times would inevitably be marked by an overall increase in sin, an explosion of deception, and a dramatic increase in human pride. The faithful are specifically called to consciously contrast themselves with the ways of the world, to diligently remain holy, to consistently stay vigilant, and to resolutely remain obedient, so that when the rapture trigger finally occurs, they will inevitably be recognized as consistently ready. The verse clearly implies that the ultimate timing of the rapture is not an arbitrary event, dictated by chance or circumstance. Rather, it deliberately coincides with a specific season in which true spiritual preparedness can be readily distinguished from worldly distraction and apathy. The pervasive turmoil of the world ultimately highlights the profound readiness of those whose faith resolutely remains consistently alive. By accurately recognizing the season of his return, the faithful inevitably gain unwavering confidence. Carefully observing both global events and relevant spiritual signs provides critical context and much-needed clarity. This process effectively reduces fear and consistently fosters intentional living. When you fully understand that the critical trigger that is so carefully encoded in the verse is destined to occur amidst specific conditions, you can then deliberately choose to live with an increased sense of divine purpose and heightened urgency. You will undoubtedly know precisely what to actively watch for, how to diligently prepare for it, and precisely how to deliberately position yourself spiritually so that you will indeed gloriously rise with the faithful when that momentous occasion finally arrives. The rapture is not simply a distant and nebulous hope. It is, in fact, a specific moment whose precise timing and definitive trigger can be accurately discerned through a combination of conscious spiritual awareness and persistent alignment with God's divine will. The verse, the specific spiritual trigger, and the overall season of his return are inextricably interconnected. Achieving a comprehensive understanding of this powerful connection profoundly transforms the way believers consciously live their daily lives. It significantly shapes their prayer life, deliberately cultivates vigilance, resolutely strengthens their commitment to holiness, and consistently encourages a spirit of discernment. The rapture is demonstrably imminent for all those who are consistently spiritually awake, who possess a solid understanding of the season, and who diligently maintain a state of constant and unwavering readiness. Accurately recognizing the season also significantly strengthens both hope and anticipation, as the faithful increasingly observe that God's divine promises are consistently unfolding according to his perfect and eternal plan. The tumultuous nature of the world also serves as an ongoing test of genuine faith. Those who resolutely remain consistently vigilant, consistently prayerful, and persistently holy amidst pervasive chaos are demonstrably demonstrating the vibrant and living faith that is so explicitly required by the verse. Their state of readiness is clearly not merely theoretical. Rather, it is consistently proven through unwavering endurance, resolute obedience, and persistent spiritual alignment. The rapture trigger is not merely revealed through the accurate interpretation of prophecy. It is also consistently demonstrated in the lived reality of those precious souls who faithfully respond to the specific conditions so carefully set forth by Jesus himself. Finally, achieving a solid understanding of the season consistently fosters an undeniable sense of urgency. The faithful are continually reminded that every single moment truly matters, that their ongoing spiritual preparation simply cannot be postponed, and that unwavering alignment with God's divine will is absolutely essential for their ultimate participation in the rapture. The verse provides invaluable clarity, the state of the world provides essential context, and the faithful consistently provide unwavering readiness. Together, these three elements collectively form the precise conditions for the ultimate occurrence of the rapture, triggering a transformation, ensuring those who meet these requirements will ascend to meet Jesus with unrestrained joy, unwavering confidence, and an eternal, unshakable hope. Part 5. Living in Anticipation, Embracing the Hope and the Immense Reward. Now we arrive at the most profoundly inspiring part of this sacred journey. Truly living in eager anticipation of the rapture, and completely embracing the powerful hope and the immeasurable reward that it promises. Once we genuinely understand the sacred verse that holds the key, the metaphorical trigger, and fully recognize the spiritual and earthly conditions that accompany it, our natural response should be one of fervent, active anticipation. To live in readiness transforms everything about you. It revolutionizes your very thoughts, shapes your actions, redefines your priorities, and fundamentally alters the way you approach each and every new day. This is about far more than simply expecting an event to occur. It's about deeply embodying the unwavering faith, the constant vigilance, and the inherent holiness that the pivotal verse demands of us. It's about knowing, deep in your heart, that every single moment of obedience, every heartfelt prayer, draws you ever closer to that glorious moment of meeting Jesus in the open air. Anticipation begins and thrives with hope. The rapture should not be seen as a cause for fear or trepidation. Instead, it is and should be a profound cause for unbridled joy. Those who truly understand the trigger recognize it as the ultimate, crowning reward for a life lived entirely in alignment with God's divine will. Every single act of faithfulness, every precious moment spent in prayer, every conscious choice to live a life of holiness and unwavering obedience becomes a stepping stone, paving the path toward that utterly glorious and transformative moment. The very act of anticipation itself transforms your perspective on life itself, imbuing you with a profound sense of clarity and purpose, even amidst the inevitable trials and uncertainties that life throws our way. When the truly faithful live in joyful expectation of the rapture, they are spiritually energized, ready and willing to respond instantly the very moment that the trigger is activated. Living in eager anticipation also nurtures a profound sense of vigilance. You become constantly and acutely aware of the state of your own heart, meticulously examining your actions and ensuring your unwavering alignment with God's sacred purposes. Prayer becomes so much more than a mere routine or ritual. It transforms into a lifeline, a constant and reliable way to maintain an unbroken connection with Jesus and to strengthen your own spiritual discernment. You watch not just for obvious signs in the world around you, but also for the subtle spiritual promptings that signal an ever-present readiness. This constant awareness allows you to remain alert, spiritually awake, and fully prepared for the life-altering moment of the rapture. It is an active, continuous posture of unwavering faith. Holiness and obedience remain absolutely central. Living in eager anticipation is not a passive expectation or a laid-back waiting game. It is an active pursuit of God's divine will for your life. Every conscious choice to resist temptation, every act of selfless service, every precious moment spent loving God and your neighbor, strengthens your readiness for what is to come. The hidden trigger, cleverly embedded within the sacred verse, is activated not by worldly events alone, but by the collective alignment of the faithful. Living in true anticipation means living in perfect alignment with God. Your unwavering faith, your selfless actions, and the very core of your heart all reflect the readiness that Jesus requires of us. The reward for living in this constant state of anticipation is both immediate and undeniably eternal. Spiritually, you experience an unparalleled sense of peace, uncontainable joy, and unwavering confidence in your personal relationship with Jesus. You no longer fear the unknown future because your very readiness brings you a deep and profound sense of assurance. Emotionally, you are strengthened in the face of life's trials, knowing with absolute certainty that your faithful endurance positions you perfectly for a glorious and life-changing encounter with the Savior. Eternally, the ultimate reward culminates in the rapture itself. Rising to meet Jesus, leaving behind the trials and tribulations of this broken world, and stepping into the fullness of His divine and eternal presence. The verse that contains the hidden trigger is ultimately a sacred promise. A promise of enduring hope, an immeasurable reward, and an eternal, overflowing joy for those who respond to it faithfully. Living in anticipation also profoundly influences those around you, whether you realize it or not. Your vigilance, your dedication to prayer, and your visible alignment with God's will become a powerful testimony to others. It encourages fellow believers to awaken from their slumber, to truly examine their hearts, and to cultivate that vital sense of readiness. The rapture trigger is not solely about personal preparation and individual salvation. It is also about actively participating in God's broader, more encompassing plan for humanity, shining a brilliant light in a world that is often shrouded in darkness, and inspiring others to align their own lives with His divine purposes. Your own personal readiness becomes a beacon of hope, a clear signal to others that the faithful can rise together, united in purpose, to meet Jesus in the sky. As you live in eager anticipation, the hidden verse takes on an even deeper significance. Every single day becomes a precious opportunity to cultivate unwavering faith, deepen your prayer life, pursue holiness, and maintain constant vigilance. Every challenge becomes a chance to refine your personal readiness. Every act of obedience becomes a way to strengthen your alignment with God's perfect timing. Living in anticipation is about far more than just watching and waiting idly. It is about actively participating in the unfolding of God's grand plan for humanity, allowing your life to reflect the very essence of readiness that is encoded within the sacred verse. This anticipation transforms your spiritual life in profound ways. It motivates you to engage in deeper, more meaningful prayer. It fosters greater vigilance in all aspects of your life, and it reinforces a stronger commitment to living a life of holiness. It keeps you grounded in your faith, even when the world around you grows increasingly chaotic and unpredictable, and it provides clarity in discerning the ever-changing signs of the times. The very verse that holds the trigger acts as a divine guide, and living in anticipation ensures that you are perfectly positioned to respond appropriately when that life-altering moment finally arrives. Your life becomes a living testament to readiness, powerfully reflecting the hope and the overwhelming joy of those who are fully prepared to meet Jesus. Ultimately, living in anticipation cultivates an eternal perspective on everything. The trials, the distractions, and the inherent chaos of this world become temporary and manageable because your eyes are firmly fixed on the ultimate, eternal reward that awaits you. The rapture is not just another event in the timeline of history. It is the ultimate fulfillment of God's sacred promises, the profound realization of our deepest hopes, and the eternal reward for unwavering faithfulness. By choosing to live in anticipation, you actively participate in that fulfillment, experiencing profound spiritual joy, unwavering confidence, and an unshakable sense of readiness, even before the trumpet sounds. Conclusion. As we bring this crucial message to a close, I urge you to carry this profound truth deep within the very core of your heart. The verse that holds the hidden rapture trigger is not just a simple prophecy or prediction of the future. It is a multifaceted instruction manual, a divine source of guidance, and a crucial element of divine preparation. It is a powerful call to unwavering vigilance, undeniable holiness, persistent prayer, and a living, breathing faith. Truly understanding the verse, accurately recognizing the trigger, and aligning your entire life accordingly is not an optional suggestion. It is absolutely essential for anyone who sincerely desires to rise to meet Jesus when He calls His faithful home. Your personal response to this crucial verse ultimately defines your readiness for what is to come. It is simply not enough to know it intellectually or to admire it passively from a distance. You must actively engage with it on a personal level. You must meticulously examine your own life, align your heart with God's divine will, strengthen your unwavering faith, and live in constant anticipation of that extraordinary moment when heaven and earth finally intersect. Every conscious choice you make, every selfless act of obedience, and every heartfelt prayer of alignment brings you ever closer to fulfilling the hidden condition that Jesus Himself embedded within the Holy Scripture. The rapture is imminent for those who are spiritually awake and aware. It is the culmination of unwavering faith, the ultimate reward of obedience, and the complete fulfillment of God's eternal promises. Living in anticipation transforms your perspective on life itself, energizes your faith in ways you never thought possible, and strengthens your hope for the future. The sacred verse that contains the hidden trigger serves as a divine compass, guiding you toward readiness, aligning your heart with the very heart of heaven, and preparing you for eternal union with Jesus Christ. Take this message with the utmost seriousness. Carefully examine your own faith, deepen your prayer life, cultivate personal holiness, and maintain constant vigilance in all aspects of your life. Let your life be a clear reflection of unwavering readiness, and live each and every day with the confident expectation that the trumpet could sound at any moment. The hidden trigger is not a secret to be feared or dreaded. It is instead an invitation to experience uncontainable joy, enduring hope, and an eternal, immeasurable reward. When that long-awaited moment finally comes, you will rise triumphantly with him, leaving behind the trials and the chaos of this broken world, and step boldly into the fullness of his eternal glory. The sacred verse has been patiently waiting for you to recognize it, to embrace it, and to allow it to transform your life. The rapture trigger is undeniably real, it is imminent, and it is profoundly personal. Be ready, live faithfully, and wholeheartedly embrace the hope, the joy, and the eternal reward that Jesus promises to all those whose hearts are perfectly aligned with his divine will. Your life has the potential to be a powerful testimony of unwavering readiness, a radiant reflection of a living faith, and a beacon of unwavering hope for others who are seeking truth and meaning in their lives. The hidden verse points the way forward, illuminating the path that leads to eternal life. It is now your sacred responsibility to respond to its call. Live in anticipation, cultivate unwavering readiness, and rise with Jesus when the trumpet finally sounds.